California statehood 1850 and the Treaty of Temecula 1852. One of the unfortunate effects of statehood on California's native people was the passing of an act for the governance and protection of Indians on April 22, 1850. This act and its 1860 amendments permitted American citizens to have the care, custody, control, and earnings of such Indian minor until he or she obtained the age of majority. The later amendments allowed adult Indians to be indentured and enslaved in the same way, though the Act of 1850 was intended to keep homeless Indians off the streets. Unscrupulous people used it as an excuse to kidnap Atoxum and sell them to unaware or uncaring masters. Shortly after California became a state, U.S. Indian agents came to the Temecula Valley to make peace with the Atoxum here. The Treaty of Temecula was one of 18 unratified treaties signed by representatives of nearly 200 California tribes throughout the state. Isidro Tashivul and Laureano Caprapish are Pechanga ancestors who signed the treaty in 1852. The treaties ensured that large tracts of land around the state would be reserved for the sole use of the native groups to whom they belonged, with the exception of mineral rights and public roads. In return, the government promised to provide a specific amount of livestock and goods. However, the U.S. Senate refused to ratify any of the treaties, and the original documents were considered lost until 1905. By the time the unratified treaties were rediscovered, most of the reservations in and near Temecula had already been established and inhabited for decades, and the original agreements were no longer valid. The Temecula Eviction 1875. A group of Temecula Valley ranchers petitioned the San Francisco District Court for permission to evict the Pamca-Witcham who lived in the village on the Little Temecula Rancho. The judge agreed to the eviction, ignoring the fact that our ancestors had lived there for generations under the terms of a Mexican land grant. The eviction took place between September 20th and 23rd, 1875. Jose Gonzalez, Juan Marita, Louis Wolf, and several other local landowners formed an armed posse, assisted by Sheriff Hunsaker of San Diego. The posse members loaded the contents of each home into wagons and dumped everything about 3 miles to the south, forcing the Indians to follow the wagons on foot. Despite losing nearly everything they owned, the Temecula people found ways to survive. At first, the evictees stayed on John McGee's land, close to the place where the posse had driven them. McGee was married to a Temecula Indian woman named Castoria Nesicat, and he was sympathetic to the Atoxum. Later, most of our ancestors moved upstream to a small, secluded valley near a spring called Pecha from Pekik, meaning to drip. This spring is where the Pechanga band gets its name. Pechanga means at Pecha, at the place where water drips. Thank you folks. If you enjoyed this video, please stay tuned.